I'm Natasha Kirchuk, and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. Coming up in today's newscast, Prime Minister Netanyahu builds new alliances during his trip to Kenya. Security forces prepare to demolish Jewish buildings in the West Bank. And scientists have just revealed a shocking new discovery made in Jesus' tomb in Jerusalem. Stay tuned for the latest news in Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is in Kenya right now for the inauguration of the next Kenyan president. The Israeli leader has been very busy forging unprecedented new relations with African countries and has just announced that Israel will be opening its first ever embassy in Rwanda. Ties between Israel and Rwanda have been flourishing over the last few years, and rumor has it that Israel is even considering opening direct commercial flights to the African nation. On top of this meeting with Rwanda's president, Netanyahu is also meeting with leaders from Gabon, Uganda, Tanzania, South Sudan, Botswana, Namibia, and Ethiopia. As if he weren't busy enough, the Prime Minister even addressed the African heads of government prior to the inauguration of Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, rallying for unity to defeat Islamic Jihad terrorists all over the world, including Boko Haram.
The challenge that we face is also security. There is a savage disease. It rampages so many countries. Boko Haram, Al-Shabaab, the awful jihadists in the Sinai. This is a threat to all of us. And I believe that we can cooperate with other countries, between us and with others. And if we work together, we'll defeat the barbarians. Our people deserve better. We can provide it for them.
Security has been so tight surrounding this event that Netanyahu himself couldn't even attend the actual inauguration. Violent protests marred by police shootings have erupted in Kenya ever since President Kenyatta won the election last month, which many say was clearly rigged. But with Israel entering the picture, hopefully some stability is on the horizon. 70 years ago today, the United Nations passed its historic vote on Resolution 181 calling for the creation of the Jewish state of Israel. Leaders from all over the world are gathering to mark the occasion, and U.S. Vice President Pence is swearing that Trump is hard at work to fulfill his promise and move the American embassy to Jerusalem. ILTV's Aaron Porras is here in the studio. Now, Aaron, we've heard this before. Is there anything new about this?
Thank you, Natasha. But unfortunately, no, to answer that question, not entirely. As we've covered in the past, the United States Congress chose to move the United States Embassy to Jerusalem back in 1995. But every president, every administration since then has chosen to sign a 6-month deferral. So every 6 months, the president signs a deferral and pushes it back. What's interesting to note, though, is that this is the first administration I can think of that has continued to make these promises to move the embassy well beyond the campaign trail. So that's cool.
Yes, but does this actually mean that the U.S. is close to following through now, or is it still something that's very far away? Again,
unfortunately, no, not exactly. It doesn't mean anything, really. You know, while Israel does have the opportunity and the right to choose where its capital is, i.e. Jerusalem, and it would be very nice for our allies like the United States to acknowledge that and respect that choice, the Palestinians have also historically chosen Jerusalem, or at least part of the old city, to become part of what is to be their potential future state. So while we might seem like we're getting somewhere because Vice President Pence is saying so, I think it would be wise to maybe hold on to our horses a little bit in terms of the excitement until we see the United States putting its money where its mouth is.
And while for the past 20 years, Congress and successive administrations have expressed a willingness to move our embassy, as we speak, President Donald Trump is actively considering when and how to move the American embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem.
United States President Donald Trump famously campaigned on his promise to move the American embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, something easier said than done. The Palestinians have repeatedly threatened that such a move would put dire consequences on any potential peace with Israel, though. But many see the vice president's words, coming on the 70th anniversary of the United Nations vote to create the Jewish state, as a good sign of things to come. Prime Minister Netanyahu has even thanked Vice President Pence for America's commitment to Israeli concerns.
Thank you, Vice President Pence, for coming to mark this day. Please convey our deepest gratitude to President Trump and to the American people for their steadfast support of Israel. I have no doubt that we'll gather together again in another 70 years to celebrate Israel's continued progress, its prosperity, its power, and the peace that it achieved with its neighbors because of all of you and all of us.
With Prime Minister Netanyahu forging new Israeli alliances in Africa this very moment, clearly there will be a lot to celebrate in another 70 years' time.
Security forces have begun to evict residents from the Netiv Avot outpost, an Israeli settlement in the West Bank that the High Court has ruled was partially built on private Palestinian land. This morning, hundreds of young people were at the outpost in order to prevent the demolition of a woodshop in the Etzion block, even starting fires at the entrances to the neighborhood to slow down the process. Border police officers could be seen dragging the youth out of the woodshop in order to clear the building. The shop is just one of 16 structures that have been slated for demolition by March of 2018. 15 other homes have also been ruled illegal. While none of the homes in the outpost sit entirely on private Palestinian land, 9 of them have significant portions that do. And just last month, the High Court rejected a petition by residents who were seeking to spare the other 6 houses, which barely infringe on private land. Attorney General Avichai Mandelblit is reportedly working to provide building permits to these homes to avert their demolition. But it looks like the razing has already begun. We've just learned that Israel has reportedly banned Switzerland from entering the Gaza Strip. That's because earlier this month, Swiss officials visited the coastal enclave to apparently have a pleasant sit-down with the heads of the Hamas terror group. Israel's defense minister has opened an investigation into the meeting, which Hamas actually tweeted pictures of showing the European delegation exchanging smiles with leaders from the terror group. Hamas says the meeting took place to discuss the ongoing Palestinian reconciliation efforts, but clearly Israel is more than a little disturbed to see European officials warming ties with terrorists that are devoted to Israel's annihilation. Switzerland has upheld controversial positions on Israel in the past, and just a few weeks ago, the Swiss government actually banned its officials from visiting Israel's Golan Heights, which they claim is illegal occupied territory. Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman is expected to keep this ban in effect until he meets with Swiss officials and gets to the bottom of this disturbing meeting. Israeli actress and producer Noa Tishby is back in the spotlight, but this time it's because she's coming forward with her own horrific experiences of sexual harassment in Hollywood. ILTV's Emmanuel Kadosh is here with more details.
Well, Noa Tishby is a household name here in Israel, and she's worked on many Hollywood projects as both an actress and a producer. She's even worked alongside Scarlett Johansson and Matthew McConaughey. So it is safe to say she's been in the business for a while now. She's sharing her own experience of harassment in the industry, which came from her former agent, of all people.
And she actually released evidence of sorts of her experience, right?
Right. Well, not only did Tishby release a series of text messages of, let's say, uncomfortable interaction, she also wrote a post for an Israeli media outlet discussing her experience as well as her ex-agent's reactions. But let's take a look at my report for more details.
Following the recent sexual harassment and assault revelations exploding all over Hollywood headlines, Israeli actress and producer Noa Tishby is coming forward to share her experiences and speak out against harassment in the workplace. Tishby released a series of texts she got from her ex-agent and published an article explaining the story in the Jerusalem Post. The messages show Tishby's former agent making vulgar, aggressive advances towards the actress, trying to get her to sleep with him. At first, Tishby brushes it off, playing it cool, pretending it's all a joke. When he wouldn't let up, things blew up, and Tishby gave him a short essay explaining how this is exactly what she hates about the entertainment industry. How even though it was a joke, most men who talk like that mean it, cornering girls into participating, thinking their career is at stake. Her former agent responded that he was, quote, just playing, but obviously her defense reveals what a lot of women feel when they're harassed in the workplace. As Tishby explains in the Jerusalem Post article, quote, it's a split-second decision so many women have had to face. What do I value more, my self-respect or my ability to provide for myself and my loved ones? The latter wins out time and again, not because women are weak, but because we're human. But she ends the article on a high note, saying there's more work to do. But, quote, many more men are about to pay a price for their past behaviors, which were once considered a norm.
All right, we all know that Israel is the startup capital of the world with tens of thousands of patents filed every year. But despite these figures, so far only one Israeli has made the list of the world's most prolific inventors. Joining me now with more on the subject is that very person, Asaf Natanzon, Dell EMC's Vice President of Advanced Technology. Thank you so much for coming in. I feel so honored to meet this incredible prolific inventor. So what does it mean to be one of the world's most prolific inventors? And congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much. So being a world prolific inventor means that you have more than 200 patents of families.
Wow.
Usually it means that you have more than 200 US patents registered.
Unbelievable. So what are some of your inventions, I guess? Tell us about them.
So most of my inventions are in the field of disaster recovery and data protection, meaning if your data is corrupted or maliciously or by mistake, a way to recover it. A lot of it is like a time machine that can bring your data back to any point in time and the likes.
Very interesting. And is there one patent in specific that you're very proud of or that stands out from the others?
There are a lot of patents that I'm proud of. The one I just told you about being able to move your data to any point in time, even if you just did a single click and deleted the file, you can return exactly to the second before you deleted the file and get it back, or whatever corruption you have.
Amazing. So let's talk about patents for a little bit. You know, why are patents so important?
So companies write patents for two reasons. One of them is to protect their IP so that other companies will not copy. Another one is to protect themselves against other companies suing them. And we can see all the wars that are going now between Apple and Samsung about patents around the iPhone and the Galaxy.
Absolutely. I mean, what advice do you have for other people who, you know, have innovators and inventors who have certain products that they want to bring to market, but they're not necessarily ready and are considering getting a patent? Is it an easy process? I mean,
once you're used to it, it's very easy. At the beginning, it's a little bit hard, and the language that the patents are written, it's a legal language, and it's a little bit hard to understand. But once you get used to it, it's relatively easy.
Once you have 200 inventions and 200 patents, it gets pretty easy.
I actually have 400, 200 are pending. But,
okay, wow. All right, so that's even more than what I thought. So what is next for you? I mean, what lies in the future of advanced tech and you know, the kind of patents that you are getting?
So the technology is changing very rapidly now. There are a lot of buzzwords going on, like blockchain and Bitcoin and autonomous cars and the Internet of Things and machine learning. And just throw the buzzwords, there is a lot of innovation going on in the world. Everything is going to a faster pace, and this means that we can also write more patents about it.
Absolutely. All right, Asaf, well, first of all, congratulations, like I said before, and thank you so much for joining us and telling us about this.
Thank you very much.
All right, Israel is a small country, which means it doesn't have a ton of universities compared to places like the United States and Europe. But get this, 3 Israeli institutions have just been named among the top 100 innovative universities in the world. Obviously, it's quality that matters and not quantity.
Reuters compiles their annual list of the world's most innovative universities, and this year was a whopper for Israel. Ranking in at number 82 and up 12 slots from last year is Hebrew University. That's not surprising at all, considering the hundreds of amazing startups and patents that come from graduates every year. Reuters even specifically singled out the Yisum Research Development Company, which works with Hebrew University to expose students' cutting-edge research to the marketplace. Tel Aviv University also cracked the top 100, pulling in at number 88. And Israel's Technion University of Technology was ranked at number 89. For 3 Israeli institutions to be on the same list as Stanford, MIT, and Harvard is a huge win for Israeli education. Israel is the only Middle East country that made the list at all. So keep up the good work, students and teachers.
Very cool. All right, now accessibility is one of those things that most of us take for granted, but not everyone has equal opportunities to participate in certain activities, like prayer as an example. Well, returning now to the studio is Micha Oberman, the CEO of Lavi Furniture Industries, to tell us how his company is getting everyone involved. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Good evening.
So when we talk about accessibility, what is one of the issues that your company is dealing with?
We involved with accessibility because of the needs to everyone to come to the synagogue, and not only view what's happening in the shul. They want to participate, they want to take a role in the activity, and for that things we need to make the synagogue ready with all equipment and furnishing in order to do that.
Interesting. So you have some accessible furniture solutions, correct? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. We develop accessible furniture starting from the Holy Ark, which the handicapped can go inside and take the Torah scroll and open the doors of the Holy Ark, accessible reading table, so an handicapped or a disabled can reach and read the Torah, bless the Torah. So everybody can be and it doesn't feel like somebody is making specifically for him. All is designed and ready for him in the beginning.
Interesting. What inspired you to focus on this specific issue? Because obviously equal opportunity to access, is something that we have to deal with on many, many fronts, but you're dealing with the synagogue.
As Lavi did over the years, more than 5,500 shuls, we've been engaged and confront with everybody that need that solution.
Right.
Especially a new project that approached us in the last days and month is the Herzog Geriatric Hospital, which one of the largest geriatric hospital in Israel, which decided to make a specific synagogue which all will be accessible.
Very interesting. So right now, these accessible items are in how many synagogues around Israel? Have you already launched the products, or?
We have some installed already in some of synagogue in Israel and also in the United States in various synagogues, as we are exporting for many, many years. But now it's the first fully accessible synagogue that is going to be down.
Very, very interesting. So, first of all, I think this is a very noble cause that you guys are dealing with. And hopefully you're going to also start, tackling furniture for other parts of our community that need help as well, right? So
yeah. It's also issues of also blind people and people with hearing problem that it's a really a solution that in many cases also large people or taller people. So it's really important as a synagogue that everybody feel comfortable.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and telling us about the work that you're doing. And for those synagogues who are interested in this type of furniture, this is the man to talk to.
Thank you.
All right, now, this is a very heartbreaking story. Israeli parents are desperately trying to raise money for their 6-year-old son who suffers from a rare, horrible disease requiring very, very expensive medical treatment. When Shalev Bokovza was born, doctors didn't think he'd make it a year. That's because Shalev suffers from an extremely rare and devastating spinal disease, which means he can't play, walk around, or even sit by himself without being supervised. Well, his parents haven't given up, and despite what doctors said, little Shalev has just celebrated his 6th birthday. Sadly, though, he may not see his 7th without your help. Shalev needs 6 shots of special medicine this year to stay alive, each of which cost almost $100,000. Shalev's parents have managed to raise enough money on crowdsourcing to cover the first shot, but they're still looking for help to raise the rest. So, if their story has touched your heart, head to their site called Saving Shalev and consider giving their campaign a donation. Every little bit adds up and helps, obviously. All right, Jerusalem's Church of the Holy Sepulchre is the most sacred site for Christians around the world, and it's believed to be the place where Jesus was buried after his crucifixion. Well, for the first time ever, scientists have been allowed to study Jesus' tomb, and they've just confirmed that the site was indeed built by Romans about 300 years after Jesus' death.
Now, this doesn't confirm whether or not Jesus was actually buried at the site, but the groundbreaking study does prove scientifically what Christians have believed for generations, that the presumed tomb was built around 326 BC during the era of Constantine the Great. Historians believe that Constantine had the monument built on what many believe to be the place of Jesus' burial, as a major step towards converting the Roman Empire to Christianity. Today, the site is shared by the Greek Orthodox, Armenian, and Roman Catholic denominations, which has made renovations and scientific study complicated. But last year, renovations were finally approved, and for the first time in centuries, the cave believed to be Jesus' tomb was opened, giving scientists a glimpse into a past that may finally be coming into focus.
Quite the dramatic finish there. All right, to know where you're going, you have to know where you've been. And joining me now with details on his upcoming retrospective show is artist Chaim Mizrahi. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
So what is the name of this show of yours and why?
It's Lil Shir Tzeva, because the sound of color.
The sound of color.
It comes on the behalf of my ability to cross-implement between music, poetry, and painting.
Wow, so you're dealing with a lot of different mediums here.
Yes, I actually use rhythm in order to accumulate layers.
Wow, how does that work?
Well, I count as a drummer because I'm a drummer, so I'm very dedicated into every count, so I don't sway.
Okay.
And by doing so, I literally accumulate the chords without actually knowing that the subject matter is forming on the behalf of that attempt, on the behalf of that effort.
Very interesting. And I also see that there are a lot of repeated Hebrew letters and words in some of these pieces. What is the significance of the text that you have in this artwork?
Well, I'm first and foremost, I'm a poet. You know, I come from a family of poets, and you know, the written word is very important to us. So I dare the surface. You know, I try to baffle the surface so it won't kind of interrupt me in my immediate vicinity of creation. And cross-implementation is really what it's all about, taking three mediums together. And if you tackle a difficulty or an obstacle, you turn your head and you go to another medium so it can kind of give you some kind of a breakthrough to continue with another medium.
So this artwork, I mean, it's a retrospective gallery or show that you're putting together here. So it's artwork from many, many years, right?
Not really. I mean, maybe we can say 10 years, but retrospective. No, because when we say retrospective, you know, I live in East Hampton for about 35 years in Eastern Long Island. Any show you would do is retrospective. You know, it doesn't have to be because it stretches over 20 years. So retrospective is really an attempt. I'd like to show that I'm busy, that I create, and that this is my life.
Absolutely. I mean, 10 years, I think, is a significant amount of time.
Yes,
so,
it is.
Well, here's the question. When and where can we catch this show?
I will open this Saturday, but officially the Pticha Chagigit, is December 7th, yes, from 8 to 10 p.m., December 7th, and that's in Merkaz Amiyad, the Amiyad Center in the Shukra Pishpishim in Old Jaffa, in Amiyad Street number 12. I'm going to be there until the 27th of December.
Okay.
At the opening, we're going to have Sharon Sagi and Sasson Levy for flamenco also, to enhance the whole idea of what I'm actually
well, I mean, you have music, you have text, you have poetry, you have everything.
Oh, yeah, we're going to have poetry, prose, whole
why not
idea,
add some flamenco, right?
Yes,
all right, thank you so much for joining us, Chaim, and everybody check out his new show.
I appreciate it.
All right, Israelis have been freaking out on social media all week after spotting what is perhaps the slickest, coolest sailing yacht of all time that's being anchored in Israeli harbors. It turns out this massive mega yacht is actually the world's biggest and most expensive of its kind, complete with 8 decks, a helipad, and an underwater observatory. There it is, the mother of all yachts, dropping anchor all over Israeli shorelines from Tel Aviv to Haifa. Named simply Sailing Yacht A, this beauty was designed by the world-famous Philippe Starck, who also designed Steve Jobs' personal super yacht, the Venus. At first, Israelis had no idea what to make of the futuristic-looking vessel when they spotted it out their windows. Many suggested on social media that maybe a spaceship had just landed. It turns out Sailing Yacht A has been setting sail all over the Mediterranean for the past few weeks, docking off of Turkey, Cyprus, and now Israel. The vessel is owned by Russian billionaire Andrei Igorevich Melnychenko, Forbes' 89th richest person in the world. The ship cost him nearly $500 million to make, but when you're valued at just north of $13 billion, it probably just feels like a drop in the bucket.
Enroll in eTeacher's online Hebrew courses and quickly discover that it creates the deepest connection to Israel that you could ever imagine.
Now it's time for our Hebrew word of the day. Only one of the world's richest people could own the crazy mega yacht that just anchored in Israel. So today's word is milliardaire, which is how you say billionaire in Hebrew. Now, milliardaire or billionaire sounds a whole lot like the Hebrew word for millionaire, which is simply millionaire. But oh no, my friends, if you're a milliardaire, you're looking down on millionaires like they're peasants. Because you know what's cooler than $1 million? Being a milliardaire with literally millions of dollars. Well, money isn't everything, and it can't buy you happiness, as they say. So that's why when I become a milliardaire, I'm going to give a whole lot to charity and then spend the rest on my dogs. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. Tonight will be partly cloudy with some local showers along the coast and in the north, and a low of about 55 or 13 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow you can expect partly cloudy skies with little to no change in temperatures and a high of 72 or 22 degrees Celsius. All right, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.51 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at iltv.tv. I'm Natasha Kirchuk, and thanks for watching.